Gremlins 3, Spielberg's approval, and what we know so far. Imagine waiting over 3 decades for a movie sequel that could finally answer all your burning questions, only to find out it's hanging in limbo because one legendary filmmaker hasn't given the green light yet. That's exactly where fans of the iconic Gremlins franchise find themselves right now. A third installment in this beloved series has been teased for years, but according to Zach Galligan, one of the original stars from the first film, Gremlins 3 is closer than ever and just needs Steven Spielberg's stamp of approval to move forward. Back in early 2024, Warner Bros. Made headlines by confirming plans to revive several classic franchises, including Gremlins. The studio seems eager to capitalize on nostalgia-driven successes like last year's blockbuster hit, Beetlejuice, which brought back Michael Keaton nearly 40 years after Tim Burton's cult classic. This resurgence of older intellectual properties, IPs, into modern hits isn't stopping there. Another example includes the upcoming Minecraft movie adaptation. Riding high on these triumphs, Warner Bros. Is doubling down on its strategy to refresh other legendary titles, among them Gremlins 3 and potentially even a follow-up to The Goonies. But here's where things get intriguing. Despite having a completed script ready to go, progress hinges entirely on Spielberg's decision. Speaking at Comic-Con Manchester recently, Galligan revealed, after 35 years, they'd finally come up with a script. Warner Brothers is incredibly keen to make it happen, but apparently, it's all waiting on Mr. Spielberg to read and approve. It's a tantalizing update for longtime fans who have waited so patiently for any news about Gizmo and his mischievous counterparts. This isn't the first time we've heard rumblings about Gremlins 3. In fact, discussions around the project have been ongoing for quite some time, with Chris Columbus, a key figure behind projects like Harry Potter, being particularly vocal about bringing the story back to life. Back in 2017, Columbus mentioned he'd been working diligently with writer Carl Ellsworth on what he described as a twisted and dark continuation of the original tale. Fast forward to 2020, and Columbus reassured fans that practical effects would remain central to the film's aesthetic, eschewing CGI in favor of traditional puppetry and animatronics, a choice sure to delight purists who cherish the tactile charm of the originals. Warner Bros.' enthusiasm for expanding these franchises was further underscored when co-chairman and CEO Pam Abdy spoke to Deadline last April. She expressed excitement over collaborations between Amblin Entertainment and Chris Columbus to breathe new life into both Gremlins and The Goonies. Such statements suggest the studio sees immense potential not only in reviving these classics, but also in ensuring their relevance for future generations. So, what happens next? Well, if Spielberg gives the thumbs up and everything proceeds smoothly, we might see production kicking off as soon as next year. Assuming no major delays, a tentative release date for Gremlins 3 could fall sometime in 2027. But let's pause for a moment and consider, does every beloved franchise deserve a comeback? And how do you feel about blending nostalgia with innovation? These are questions worth pondering as we await updates on whether Spielberg will ultimately say yes. In the meantime, if you're craving some Gremlin-filled antics, you can always revisit the original films, Gremlins and Gremlins the New Batch, currently available for streaming on Amazon Prime. For those hungry for more cinematic adventures, don't forget to check out our comprehensive list of the most anticipated movies coming your way in 2025 and beyond. Until then, keep your popcorn ready and maybe avoid feeding any mogwai after midnight. Update on Gremlins 3. Script awaits Steven Spielberg's approval. After more than 3 decades of silence, the beloved chaos-causing creatures are finally ready to wreak havoc once again. But there's one major hurdle standing in their way: Fans of the iconic Mischief Makers have been waiting 35 years for another proper installment, and now it appears their patience might finally pay off. The third chapter in the beloved franchise has reportedly reached a critical milestone, with a completed screenplay now sitting on the desk of none other than Steven Spielberg himself, awaiting his final blessing. This exciting revelation came straight from Zach Galligan, the original star who brought Billy Peltzer to life in both the 1984 classic and its 1990 sequel. During his appearance at Comic-Con Manchester, Galligan dropped this bombshell news that has franchise enthusiasts buzzing with anticipation. They finally crafted a script after all these years, Galligan revealed in a viral TikTok moment that's been making rounds across social media platforms. The actor went on to explain that Warner Bros. Has shown tremendous enthusiasm for moving forward with the project, describing the studio as incredibly interested in bringing the furry troublemakers back to the big screen. But here's where it gets interesting and potentially controversial. The entire future of this highly anticipated sequel now rests in the hands of Spielberg, who must give his stamp of approval before cameras can roll. This raises some fascinating questions about creative control in Hollywood. Should one person, regardless of their legendary status, have the power to greenlight or kill a project that millions of fans are desperately craving? What's particularly intriguing is how modern box office success influenced this decision. Galligan credited the massive triumph of Beetlejuice, another long-awaited sequel to an 80s classic, as the catalyst that convinced Warner Bros. To seriously pursue this project. This trend of reviving beloved properties from decades past has become Hollywood's new goldmine. But it also begs the question, are we running out of original ideas, or are we simply giving audiences exactly what they want? The writing situation adds another layer of mystery to this developing story. While the identity of the current screenwriter remains under wraps, original scribe Christopher Columbus has been reflecting on his connection to the franchise. In a recent interview with Vanity Fair, Columbus expressed how deeply embedded the Gremlins universe remains in his creative DNA, hinting that he still has unused concepts from his original work that never made it to the screen. Here's something most people don't realize about the sequel situation. Columbus actually didn't return to pen Gremlins 2, the new batch, which was instead written by Charles S. Haas. This creative handoff might have left some of Columbus's original vision unexplored, potentially opening the door for those forgotten ideas to finally see the light of day in this third installment. For those who might be new to this beloved franchise, let's break down what made the original so special. The story centers around Billy Peltzer, a teenager whose well-meaning father purchases what appears to be an adorable, harmless creature called a mogwai from a mysterious Chinatown shop. However, this seemingly innocent pet comes with 3 crucial rules that, when inevitably broken, transform the cute animation. And Spielberg's Amblin Television collaborated on an animated prequel series that launched on HBO Max in 2023, proving that audience appetite for Gremlins content remains strong across different mediums and generations. And this is the part that really gets people talking. Is Hollywood's obsession with legacy sequels actually serving fans, or are we just witnessing a creative bankruptcy that prioritizes nostalgia over innovation? Some argue that bringing back beloved franchises after decades allows new generations to discover these stories while giving original fans the closure they've been seeking. Others contend that this trend prevents fresh voices and original concepts from getting the attention they deserve. What do you think? Are you excited about the possibility of Gremlins 3? Or do you believe some franchises should remain untouched? Should Spielberg have the final say on this project, or should fan demand be the ultimate deciding factor? And perhaps most controversially, do you think a modern Gremlins sequel can capture the anarchic spirit of the original, or will it inevitably be sanitized by today's corporate filmmaking approach? Share your thoughts, and let's spark some debate about where this beloved franchise should go next.